Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I was seeing a few things online and such, and also the other aspect was like I had a couple of people also messaging me. It's like, after the Knicks won the NBA Cup, he's like, "Hey, I mean, if not for Brunson, like look, Brunson brought him to respectability, pure respectability. Stop, Brunson. Yes, with the Brunson signing, then the next Knicks trajectory went up. But let's be honest, the Knicks became respectable, and I hate to say this, but like the Knicks became respectable when they signed Julius Randle. Because look at it. Well, that and Tibbs. I'll be honest. When Tibbs came, he made them truly respectable at that point. The moment the Knicks signed Tibbs as head coach, he made them respectable to the point where like then with Randall, they started. Like they made that first year they made the playoffs. Granted, they got eliminated in the first round via trade, but that was there. And then the following year, of course, they didn't make the playoff, and everyone's like, like thinking like, all right, this that might have been a fluke. Reality was is more. I think Tibbs was still identifying some of the players that they needed and whatnot. And granted, if you see one of my earliest videos around the time when they signed Jalen Brunson way back when. Uh, Back in 2022, you'll see that, or 2023, I can't remember. Uh, 20, yeah, I wasn't, I didn't know what to say at the time because honestly, you'll see that basically I was either saying, well, to be honest, I was like saying it back then as I'm saying right now. I was like, I have no idea. Because honestly, I didn't say anything bad about the signing. I didn't say anything positive about the signing because honestly, I didn't know too much about Brunson, honestly, because he was with the Mavs at the time. And quite honestly, I didn't see much of him, so I had no idea. The only time I saw how Brunson played was in that first round in the playoffs that year, when Luca was injured and you saw Brunson doing well, and then I think there was I think a clip out there that you still see nowadays, but there was I think it was on ESPN. I can't remember what it was or NBA TV. You saw after that when the Mavs got eliminated from the Western Conference Finals, the fact that they were talking about the couple of free agent players leaving essentially, or free agents, players that were becoming free agents, and one of them was Brunson, and then pretty much Mark Cuban was saying, is like, like, we're gonna sign him. We have the capital to sign him. And I'm like, all right, maybe Mark Cuban knows something that I don't. And I was like, all right, he must be good, but I don't know how good he is. And like, because Cuban and the rest of the management saw how good Dirk Nowitzki was. So and as well as Luca too. So and they recognized that talent. So they must have realized like, hey, he must, like they must see something in Jalen Brunson. The fact that he won the second round too was like really surprising because like considering the Knicks could have gotten Jalen Brunson back then as well. I mean, honestly, let's be honest. Back then, the Knicks could have gotten Jalen Brunson. They could have drafted Donovan Mitchell, which they should have, but they didn't. They could have drafted Halliburton as well, which they didn't. They chose. I mean, I understand making choosing Obi Toppin, but they needed a point guard back then, and they didn't. I don't know if that made the right choice by doing that because by going and not signing, not drafting. I mean, not signing, not drafting Halliburton. They went out and signed Jalen Brunson, but I don't know. Time will only tell. Um, but quite honestly, it's a case where like I'm not taking anything away from Brunson because like Brunson has definitely elevated the team from what they were here with Julius Randle and Tibbs to now here basically. But with him and Cat, I think they changed the dynamic of the team itself basically at that point as well too. But I think more so to the point is this factor is we can't take anything away from Randall and Tibbs and what they contributed to the team. Tibbs, I think, if his management style had adapted and he was more trustworthy with other players, I mean, Toppin might have been, still he might still be a Nick. Honestly, he might still be a Nick. Or we could have used him as as trade bait as well too to maybe get Giannis at that point as well too. Quite honestly, um, but he wasn't, and so we had to like trade him off at that point. But the other factors is Randall. As much as I was always getting angry at Randall whenever they got the playoffs, realistically speaking, during the regular season he was good. It was only in the playoffs when everything became more heightened that whenever he was not doing anything offensively good, he started sucking defensively at that point because like everything that he did offensively translated into his defense as well too because like his mood. He was basically a moody player, and I think maybe it might change. Who knows? Because like the Lakers recognized Randall. And the Knicks got really lucky signing him at that point. They must have seen something that I didn't recognize because I was like Julius Randle. I'm like, he's not that great. What the hell? Because like even Black Mamba was like, yeah, whatever, let him go. We don't need him. Because quite honestly, Black Mamba would have said like, hey, we got to keep. You guys should keep him at that point. But anyways, from that perspective, yeah, I know. Kobe Bryant basically retired well before he signed with the Knicks, but at the same time could have been very helpful. But anyways, to that point, like I said, I don't want to take anything away from Tibbs and Randall because without them, the Knicks don't come to the point where they're at that inflection point where they become respectable. Now, granted, it was during the COVID shortened season and such, but they still did something. Basically, they did still do something. Quite honestly, and so it was one of those things where like without it, I don't think they signed Brunson. I don't think Rose goes out and signs Brunson at that point. And then with it, the cascading effect of then getting Hart, DiVincenzo, and then eventually leading to Carl Anthony Towns, as well as, Kolchak and such. Well, I don't know. It depends what happens this year. Because quite honestly, I think as good as Carl Towns is, I think we're a superstar away. Because I can't say Julian Brunson is that tier 1 superstar. He's not there yet. Because he's coming as clutch right now. Because like yesterday's game against the Indiana Pacers, that was impressive what he did. I mean, that was surprising considering that, like half the team was like benched because of celebratory reasons, basically. But more so to the point where like, I think the matter of the fact is like, that Brunson brought him back, basically won that game for them as Mr. Clutch. But let's be honest, Kolchak was pretty much the reason as well too. But OG Anunoby is, I think, the other factor, the biggest factor as well too. Like without OG, I don't think we get that far in those 2 years. I think these are great role players. Now I think we need that one superstar. I mean, if we could have gotten Durant as a free agent, that would have been great. But I don't know how that happens. Quite honestly, Giannis looking to trade. I think he's going to probably go towards. I would not be surprised if he goes towards the Lakers. Honestly, if he goes to the Lakers, because quite honestly, Luka can't do it himself. LeBron's there, and I know Giannis would love to work with love to play with Luka, but also more so play with LeBron as well too. Because if he can play with LeBron, they go up there. I think Giannis also might make if Golden State is smart. If Golden State is smart, they try and sign, they try and go for Giannis at that point as well too. But quite honestly, I'm not taking anything away from what the Heat do basically, because every time they seem to get a player, they're doing really well right now. Don't be surprised if Giannis comes to Miami because he loves that Miami, nice warm weather. I wouldn't be surprised if Giannis is traded to the Miami Heat because I mean I know they don't have that much draft capital, but let's be honest. Giannis can't go to Miami. I know he's not going to go to the Brooklyn Nets, even though they got the draft capital and the players to trade for Giannis. But the thing is, I don't think the Nets are going to do what they did. I think they've learned basically from when they traded for Durant, traded for they signed Durant and they signed Irving, but they traded for Harden. I think they realized we're not going to make that same mistake again. I think they've learned from that point. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts. Again, you can put them in the comment section. I do read them all when they warrant a response. But with that, I'll leave it at that. But again, let's not take anything away from Julius Randle and Tom Thibodeau. Tibbs was the reason why the Knicks became where they are at, basically. Mike Brown is now just only going to the next level. If I'm the Chicago Bulls, I would have signed Tibbs immediately because this is a man that could bring them back to respectability if management has changed a little bit between then and now. But I don't know. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Again, unfiltered, unedited, of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.